Hello, hello, and welcome in, everybody. Welcome. So, today, getting back to it, this one's going to be about getting back to basics. So, I've actually chosen the decks that I kind of originally bought, or a few of them that I originally bought, and obviously one I've created, this one, so it's not exactly part of it, but it's one that feels more true to me. And so I feel like that's what this reading is going to be about. Getting back to basics, getting back to who you are. We're pretty expanded at the moment, and being expanded is great, but there needs to be that expansion and coming back to who you are, right? Going out there to retrieve information, let's say, and coming back to ourselves. So take this as a reading for getting back to basics. Okay. Give me a sec. This could be coming back to who you really are, who you truly are, who you feel is in your heart, regardless of what's happening on the outside, right? It's the real you. So let's grab some piles. Oh, I feel like this one really wants to come out, so we'll grab that and this one. Okay, so these are the crystal cards. I call it down below crystal card and booklet because if you put that in, it'll show it in Google. Okay, let's have a look. So for part one, you have the Argon star cluster with earth healing, grounding, stress relief, and vitality. For part two, you have Hematite, self-healing, grounding, right opportunities, and justice. And lastly, pile 3, you have the titanium rainbow quartz with awakening all chakras, ultimate manifestation, vibrancy, and powerful shift. All right, so 3 very different crystals. Feel free to pick whichever one or ones call to you. You're allowed to watch all of them if you want to, right? These are readings where I'm trying to really get not just I read it and then you go away with it. This is something for you to look at while I'm reading and also seeing what you see because you know what's going on in your life. You know who you are in this reading. This might be just a reminder to look after a certain aspect of self. So take it in, but also, work with that energy as it comes through or as you hear it, because it'll really help you to be able to direct it in the right way for you specifically. Okay, all right, I'll leave you to it. Down in the description below, you can jump straight to your video. And yeah, I'll see you in your reading. Hello, hello, welcome to your reading, pile number 1. I didn't say also, because while I'm doing this, it's Easter Monday, right? Can't remember what else it's called. But if you celebrate it, happy Easter. It's a good symbolization for death and rebirth, right? New life. So this could be a great way of coming back to who you truly are and expressing your true self, right? Even if you go by the religious sense with Christianity of rising up, or I guess, or the death and the rebirth, being kind of like coming back to your true self, as our bodies are a temporary part of us, if that makes sense. So this could be, very symbolic in that sense as well. And I forgot to mention that, and I didn't even think of it, but now it's all coming out, it makes sense. Anywho, you've chosen the Argon star cluster with earth healing, grounding, stress relief, and vitality. So we'll see how this relates to your reading today. I don't have any tarot cards today because when I first started reading, tarot cards felt restricting. They had too many kind of like ideas and rules. And when I was first connecting with cards and energy, those cards had so many people and past kind of ideas of what things should be. It was so restrictive. I couldn't connect with them, so I didn't use them for, I think like it was probably like half a year before I got a tarot deck. And then it was absolutely fine, but it was just like, it was timing. It was too much at first. So today we won't be using any tarot cards. This will all be Oracle. Okay. I'm going to squeeze them in. I don't have a huge amount of cards, so I don't have to be too stingy with space today. There's something natural coming through. I know this card because these cards don't have like a unknown backing, right? They're all the picture of what they are, and it looks like it's either citrus or lemon. And I don't know, there's something like humbling and like grounding with these two cards coming through. Obviously the earth healing makes sense, grounding makes sense with this. So it's just like something going back to nature, right? Coming back to who you really are, out of the head. It's definitely getting out of that head. Sorry about the light on these ones. The original cards I bought were a lot of gloss cards because I felt they lasted a bit longer, but they're not always the best for readings, right? Or recordings anyway. They're great for readings, just in this modality. Okay, so let's see. Coming back to basics. Okay, so here are your cards, pile number 1. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is the lemon card. It says here, celebrate the little things. I love that. Grounding, this vitality, giving yourself a space to put your feet back on the ground, and, metaphorically or even physically or both, and center. This card says here, bright, joyful, and useful. That's very true. There's a lot of uses for lemon, right? We have it in like soft drinks, in cakes and things like that, in bars, like in cooking, but also people use it as like cleaning as well. That's why when we buy some products in the store, it's not the real smell, but I feel like the mental idea of the smell and lemons being like a clean scent or citrus being a clean kind of thing, when even like citronella or something like that's popping through, just kind of like that repellent. Like there's a lot of stuff, a lot of useful things you can use for it. So it's a really true, and it's something that's very kind of like, oh yeah, it's a lemon, who cares? But there's so many uses for it when we care about other things, right? Like a particular bag brand or shoe brand, or like an elaborate cake that's very lavish, but these are the things that are the cornerstones or like the foundations. And so I think that's the representation, is what I'm talking about, is like coming back to the foundations. It says here, the color of happiness and the smell of joy combined in the simple but versatile lemon. It's kind of funny. Okay, so let's have a look at the other cards. You have take a moment and the little things. Very clear with this one, isn't it? It's clearing out the head. Even here, this is like a lot of information coming in. Maybe you've already expanded a lot recently, and now it's time to not so much contract, as it sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sound right, but to come back together and siphon through a lot of the information and let go of some of the stuff that is just unnecessary, and get back to who you are with all this new information, or this new feelings, or whatever's going on in your life, right? So take a moment. I like the symbolism of the butterflies and the head, because it's like transforming the information, not just keeping it there as like a chrysalis, because otherwise it gets, stuck. There's like this idea of stuckness. You don't want that. You've got ancestral wisdom too. That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that one. There is a lot of green in here. Does touch to me with like heart chakra, but also nature and grounding. everything in here is green and their heads is like family tree and leaves, right? The idea of leaves. But I'm not too sure why specifically this card besides those mentioned. So I'm going to continue and then we'll come back to it. But yeah, very clear of like grounding. If you take anything away from this reading is to go outside and connect, maybe do some of the little chores or appreciate the little things you do for yourself or people do for each other, right? Making the bed, having dinner prepared, that kind of thing, and taking pride in being proud and taking pride in your efforts and other people's efforts in your life. It could even be the people who have, okay, here we go. Okay, now it's popped through. But it could even be the people that have come and gone, whether you've met them or not, and just seeing that lineage or family line energy come through, sometimes in shadowy ways, sometimes in toxic ways, right? And you're the one that was the breaker of those patterns. But whatever it is, being able to see the benefit of overcoming some of that stuff, or taking in those great recipes from like a grandmother, grandfather, or whoever, or having the pride in being able to build things, whatever it is, there's like this appreciation for what has transpired in your life and who has not followed, but who you've followed from ancestral lines, let's say. Oh, okay, there we go. That's why. Ancestor. Okay, anyway. I've got White Eagle with the Ancestor Spirit. It says, connect to your lineage. A family wound pattern can be healed. Yeah, this is probably like, let's say, a little bit of homework. I always see White Eagle when he comes through as like definitely a family lineage kind of like healing, sometimes through trauma, or even just connecting with gratitude and what's that? Like kind of like, the Six of Cups when the person's looking at the children, they're like a grandparent or something, and they're just seeing the circle of life, I guess, or the transition throughout the ages. I'm not too sure how to word it. But yeah, a family wound or pattern can be healed now. This could be a time to do some reflection, on how far you've come. You're still here, then appreciate yourself for what and how and where you're at. Even if you're not 100% happy with it, you're still here to make changes to create the life you want, right? That's really important. Yeah, create the life you want. Isis magic manifestation. Your dreams, vision, goals are becoming reality. Stay focused. Nice. Yeah, this card isn't saying take a break away from everything. It's just giving yourself moments and time to breathe, because you're still focused on the goal. You can still be focused on the goal without dedicating everything to that goal, right? The focusing on it is knowing that it's there and to pick up when you need to get there and pick it up and start working on it. You have the Yowie and the Boomerang. So Yowies are kind of like, I guess, the Sasquatch of Australia. So this one is retaliation, temper, and unchanging. The story with this one of when I created this deck was these are pine trees in the background. Pine trees are not native to Australia, but like with a lot of colonization, whoever the colonizers were would bring their plants, food, animals, which usually kind of like shook up the country, right, or made a lot of changes. And so here, my idea with this one was he's coming out of the pine trees, unhappy in a sense that whatever's happened, or like his reality is starting to shift and change, and he's responding through rage, essentially. The idea is not to respond through rage, but it's to recognize what's the problem, and instead of just yelling, it's like maybe this needs to be looked at and understood why this is triggering. What is this doing? How is this impacting? And going through the right channels or expressing yourself in the right ways to deal with this, or to integrate it, or to see what you can control and what you can't control, right? It's an interesting one. It's a good one for reflection as well, because boomerangs are kind of like symbolic for returning. You throw it and it doesn't necessarily just like go do do, but you know, if you get the right angle, it can come back to you or go close enough. Okay, and then you've got the Vigilante with Talisman, Direction, Breaking Point, and Challenges. Again, I'll just explain to this one. It's quite a graphic symbol, right, with a gun. Generally not something that people want to deal with, talk about, or anything, but it is a reality in this world with weapons or weaponization. Probably from the beginning of humans, we're either using rocks and sticks, and now we're using these kind of horrible things. But the idea with this one was this guy had been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed until breaking limits, right? And it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm sure there's a quote out there, but the person who has nothing or has like nothing to lose is going to be more dangerous than the people that have something to lose. And all of it's going to be around fear anyway. The people at the top don't want to lose power. The people at the bottom want to kind of like have sustainability or like have enough, right? Or maybe there's someone down there that wants right up the top, who knows? But in this case, he just wanted what was right. And so he went about it, and probably not the best way. You can see here kind of like through fear or power or like intimidation. But that's the whole reason why you don't want to get to the breaking point. You want to start to look at these things and then not snap. It's like when you watch TV shows and you see a couple arguing, and generally it might even be about something silly, right? They didn't, I don't know, lift a toilet seat or something like that. But that's not usually the only issue. It's because of layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of other shit that's happened in their connection or their relationship. And that's kind of like the breaking point. And so that's why reflection communication is necessary, even if it's just within ourselves or with other people that we're having quarrels with. Or even just like watching TV, right? That can cause us to start to get raged in general. But that's the whole point. These are all distractions. These two cards kind of feel like distractions. I would say also, though, with some people watching this, if you want to make a stand or stand up, there's avenues and ways to do that. Violence doesn't have to be part of it, and it's not necessarily going to be like what's going to solve the issue or anything. You know, it's like sometimes when people riot, that's when we see, oh, they're the bad guys, right? Or they've been pushed so far that they've had to feel like that was the only way. But it paints a picture of them as well, because they're choosing to be aggressive, violent, or destructive. And I guess it just wants whatever wants to come through here. Maybe this also relates to some family wounds and stuff like that with these two coming through. But whatever is there is for you to process in the way that you feel right for you. Like the lemons kind of popping up to sanitize, sterilize, to find peace and joy throughout the day. The world isn't just what is perceived in a nutshell. And I guess the best way I can say that is like you can have 50 different people, right? One of them watches the news all day. They're going to have a very different view of the world, depending on what country. Let's say it's the United States, for example. They're watching any of the news is on there just constantly all day. That's going to be draining, right? It's going to be polarizing on what they're seeing, regardless of what network it is. If you have people that are just hiking for the whole day, they're going to get a very different reality of the world. So it's just, that's where it's coming from, is this focus on what you, I guess, want and what's important, but hyper-focusing or seeing through just one lens is going to give you a very specific or distorted view of the overall. Can't get a picture of the overall by looking at one thing. It's kind of like looking at one New Zealander, for example, especially if you've never been there or spoken to one, or just seen stuff online. But if you have one interaction with one New Zealander, that shouldn't give you the idea of like all New Zealanders are like that, because everyone's individual, right? Same with any country, really. or any race, gender, sexuality, whatever, all that stuff. Everyone is individual at the end of the day. The more we kind of box things in, the more we separate from the uniqueness of that individual, and we paint a broad stroke of who we are and who they are, etc. And it doesn't help anybody, besides maybe people that want us to conform into one box, right? So it's easier to manage or control. All right. So we've got all the cards down. I said I'll come back to the ancestral with the ancestor spirit with White Eagle coming through. I think it's pretty clear that this could be about actual family. It could even be about past lives as well. If you do get interested in that, there might be something there. I feel like I was watching a, what do you call it? If you've ever seen Next Level Soul, there was a guy on there recently, and he was talking about what he does, and he's like, I stay in my lane. I deal with past lives for people and help them through that. And the host was like, do you look at have you ever seen any alien ones, like extraterrestrials, animals, anything like that? Nope, just humans. That's all he deals with. And I think that's absolutely fine, right? If it helps, it helps. It doesn't have to be fantastical to be important or helpful. And if it is, then the people that will resonate will go to someone else who specializes in that. So it's just interesting to bring it up in this reading, because if there's anything from a past life, especially on the human world or anything like that, then have a look into it. If you feel like something's impacting you, especially around fears, worries, with regards to family, money, anything like that, certain pains in the body as well. It was an interesting watch. It was on Next Level Soul, and I think it was in the last couple of days. So whenever this is posted, if you're watching this in the future, then obviously add on the distance from when this was posted to when you're watching it. Not so much distance, the time. But here we go. This is really about, overall, I see this as to take a break, not to get too absorbed in what's happening. It's really important to come back to who we are. Of course, that's the theme of this, and to recognize how we're feeling, why we're feeling, what external things are impacting us, and what past and internal things are impacting us, because past things are generally not happening right now, but we're feeling it like it is happening. And potentially for some of you, the past lives may be an area that you want to look into as well, because nothing is ever unchanging. This card is a kind of a little interesting one, because the unchanging was really this guy or this being, right, is not happy about certain changes that were occurring in his environment. And the idea that anything is unchanging is wrong, right? We've seen lots of changes throughout history, with certain animals coming in and out, lots of crazy looking creatures in the past with fossil record, and the shape of the earth and the levels of oxygen in the earth at certain times, right? It's constantly changing. So we know things are changing. We can't control everything, or a lot of things that are changing. We can't control the weather. We can't control anybody in the world out there what they're going to do. So be very mindful of where your energy is going in those situations, because if you're wanting certain people to be the way that you think is right, you're going to be worrying about things that you can't control. So the Aoi in this one kind of needs to chill. And you don't want to get into a breaking point. You want to come back to wholesome, to like, I guess, grounding, or to connection with self, grounded, foundational self, and then start looking at these things, because there's another card in this deck, which is the abolitionist. So it's someone who's standing up for what they believe in through communication, right? Rather than through force. So that's where I feel like that's the card that would come up if these kind of like things are recognized and followed. They'll take a moment. I'll read take a moment and then I'll let you go. It says here, stop. Now is not the time to rush into any decision you're about to make. Before this important decision is made, take a moment to pause and quiet your mind so that you can ask your soul for guidance before you act or move forward. That's basically what this is about. Okay, I believe that's it, pile number 1. Hopefully this has really helped you. I know it's probably a lesser card than I normally do, but more cards don't necessarily mean better reads. You can have a good read with one card, right? But a nice theme is, I do like it when 2 decks bring through the cards that make sense, right? That resonate with each other. So for you, there could be a lot of stuff with family historically that's been passed down, or even immediate, or even just like the idea of lineage, or even star lineage, right? Okay, anyway, thank you for letting me read for you today, pile number 1. Take care of yourself, be kind, and I will see you next time. Hello, hello, welcome to your reading, pile 2. So another card with grounding on it. Very clear message with the first pile around grounding as well, with the Argon star cluster headed on it, and you're getting the same thing. Also, I forgot to say happy Easter if you celebrate that. It is Easter Monday, right? I don't know if it's like a reserve day or it's important in religion, I'm not too sure. But regardless, you know, even if you don't celebrate and you live in a country where you get the day off, have a good day off. It is quite symbolic though as well of death and rebirth, and also coming back to who you truly are, right? With kind of like the rising out of the cave or whatever when the rock moved, that idea of ascension. So it's like, you know, the human life is a temporary one, whereas our soul is, you know, the permanent life. So it's coming back to that. And that's kind of symbolic in a way of when you go out and study or like learn a whole bunch of stuff, and you come back and you kind of like filter out what makes sense, what resonates, and leave what doesn't. That kind of thing. Same with these readings. It's like it makes sense with human life, right? Going out there, having a human experience, and then coming back and seeing and ciphering, filtering through what was the learning, what was the, you know, the review, I guess, life review. Anyway, this one says, self-healing, grounding, right opportunities, and justice. I find hematite quite strong in the sense of energy, right? And I don't use it or work with it, but it's just very like intense sometimes, it feels. Okay, let's have a look and grab some more cards. Okay. Very colorful. I might grab these ones first. They're a bit shiny, and so the light kind of like reflects off them, so I want to put them in positions where it's not going to get in your way. But yeah, I don't think I even said that this reading is coming back to who you are, going back to the basics, you know, that kind of message or energy. And so it fits perfectly, I feel, with self-healing or coming back to self, and also grounding, right? Getting back to the foundations of who you are, and not all this other stuff that flies around in our heads. I don't think I need to put them that far. I'm not using a huge amount of cards today, so we don't have to be too stingy with space. Okay. But with hematite coming through, you might find this time in the world quite intense, right? Quite strong. I just feel with the hematite, just very like intense, I guess is the best way I can put it. So you've got Aura Cleanse, very cleansing crystal there. It says, check in with your feelings grounding, checking in with your feelings, self-healing. Yeah, know who you are, understand how you're feeling and what's happening in this moment. Really important. Okay. You have Freya phases and cycles. If you're worried about certain people or things getting better or worse or like more intense or crazy, just know that everything comes to pass. Just like with the example with like the Jesus symbol ascending or passing and then coming back in some kind of way. It's like phases of life, right? We have incarnations that we have in the past coming in and out of life, and also just everything else that happens in our life. Nothing that we've been scared of or worried about has ever stuck forever in a way. And it won't stick forever in a way in our soul for sure. Some things stay with us, but it's always transforming is how this comes through. So just know that everything has its season, and some things and people and seasons are coming up. But it says here, there is a beginning within every ending, illusions are being revealed. Just know that certain, I guess, things that are coming through, not just in your life, but also in the world, it's to expose the truth. So even if you see something ugly, that is to expose the truth. That it's actually not maybe what the collective wants or what they thought it was. Like a, I don't know, everyone might have seen this great, amazing tree, and it was like, oh, it has beautiful flowers and leaves, and that kind of thing. But it could have been, genetically modified, for an example. This is not a very good example, but genetically modified in a way where the pollen is actually causing people's allergies to flare up worse, which wasn't the intention, but, it's just like the result. And so just because something seems great or good, it could have like a negative effect, right? It's like really understand what's happening. And sometimes even negative people come up and they're really toxic and horrible, but they're exposing stuff that was there far beyond or far before they even came into this position or power or in a job, right? They're just showing that things can be manipulated. Just because things weren't being manipulated before doesn't mean it wasn't actually happening in the background, or they're exposing weaknesses, right? It's kind of like when people hire hackers to try to hack their system, because if they can, then they know there's weakness. And you might think, well, why would you want that negative thing to happen to you? And it's like, well, because then you can understand how it works and see if there's better ways of protecting yourself, right? So it's just that kind of idea, I guess, is popping into my mind. You've got Kuan Yin with care and compassion, and it says, choose to be love, do what is right for everyone involved, and offer a helping hand. I like this. This is coming, again, this is the coming back to basics reading, but it is coming back to what is really important to you. Where is your energy and what are you focusing in on? And is it important now? It might be important in an hour, but is it important now? Do you need some break? Do you need a rest? Or do you need to like just completely declutter? Because I feel like with the hematite, that's a huge one for like absorbing or taking away toxic energy. Aura cleanse is just like the outside self as well, like it's you, but it's like just cleansing the stuff that's in the mind or in your auric field and coming back to who you truly are, not reacting to toxicity with your own toxicity, right? It's just like get out of that mentality. Coming into balance, you've got the yin and yang and the dragon. This is supernatural, balance, and duality. Coming into harmony and the squire. It's interesting. What one was it? This one? No, I can't remember. Yeah, there's a beginning with every ending. The squire and the beginner's sword. There's a reason why it's called the beginner's sword, because it's like what you use when you're first trying out. And so this is like a new beginning. It even says here, practice, new beginning, and journey. Things are constantly always changing. Just know that if you think things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, you're going to keep focusing on those things. There's in a positive sense, some of those bad things are exposing themselves, right? They're showing their own hand, or what is that saying? Showing your ass? I don't know. But anyway, they're showing it and they may not be intentionally trying to, but it's very clear and no one can say that it's not there because it's there. So I don't know. I feel like just stick with it and chill. Things will always be constantly shifting and changing. Everything has its season. Nothing stays gold forever. I think that was in a book at school. What was it called? Is it Catcher in the Rye? I think it was an American book. I can't remember. It was a long time ago since I was at school. You have the A Father's Love. It's an interesting one to come out in this reading. What's here? New beginnings. I mean, you're getting a lot of pointers towards new changes. This is feeling like for you, but also for the world or the collective, or just like maybe your country, wherever you're from. So there's a lot of stuff starting to shift and change. Might be quite happy with a lot of the changes as well. Not so much in certain areas, but just the idea of people coming together to make a shift and a change, marching together. That's what's coming through, is kind of like I guess it's kind of like a protest, but I don't think you have to protest. It's just like an internal rebellion. That feels right, but I don't know how to word it any other way. I guess an internal rebellion is to no longer just stick to what is expected and to be able to freely be you, right? The Father's Loves, I feel like, is coming through, and this could be for some people an issue with masculinity, especially with these strong feminine figures coming through. Kuan Yin's kind of seen as like a transitionary figure as well. Sometimes appears as masculine or feminine, or has changed like genders in a way. If you've ever read the story, it's like is seen as a male and then seen as a female in certain parts of the story. I'm not like too well versed in it, but there's this idea of being able to transition with both, especially with the yin and yang, and see that one's not better than the other, one's not toxic or worse than the other. It's just how humans have kind of like perceived that in time, and now understanding all aspects of your masculinity and femininity as equal push and pull, right? Is kind of like balanced. I think in a lot of religions or traditions, balance was a male and a female, so two people were the only way that they could be balanced, but we know that that's not true. Our balance is within ourselves, and if we stick with one and the other person sticks with the other, then yeah, sure, you can kind of have that, but it's like a very polarized existence, and it's a desire and a need to have another half of you when you're complete yourself. So there's that side of the Father's Love, and also it may be just a message for some people who have like lost a father figure, and they might have just literally popped in to say, hey, I'm still here, regardless if you can see me or not. I still walk with you through this life, which is really nice. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. You know, your back to basics message is to come back to who you are, cleanse what is no longer serving you, recognize that phases and cycles happen. So if things have passed, or people have passed, or you're coming up to an anniversary, especially of like a father or like a masculine figure that was prominent in your life in some way, it's a good time to embrace, remember, reflect, or even release. Talk to, even if you want to, or whatever, you know, that kind of energy. There's a lot of new stuff happening though, or that's about to happen. Changes, it feels like transformations in your life, maybe focuses that you were focusing on before become no longer important, and now you're looking over here because that's what's important. That's okay, like that's okay. It also touches on the outside world, right? So your street, your country, your city, your planet, right? The planet that we're living on, something's could be transforming and changing there, because these two cards coming through right next to each other is very clear of a new path, new beginning, a new transformation, a new change. So yeah, I don't know what that's going to be, but it feels like it's really positive. You're going to be in the best position if you feel comfortable, balanced, and whole within self. to deal with whatever is to come through, whether it's positive or negative, right? It's still going to be much easier when you feel good about yourself. So yeah, that is what your cards wanted to say today. I hope this really helps. One little thing that I do want to mention is this kind of like moon symbol with the sun symbol, the balance between light and shadow, not necessarily judging either or. It's just about recognizing and understanding our own inner world as much as important as our outer world, and vice versa. Neither are more important than the other, so take that with you as well. Okay, thank you for letting me read for you today. Pile number 2, good luck with everything. There's something popped in. If someone's traveling, you'll really enjoy that. The journey is going to be great. I think that's all they wanted to say, and now they're left. All right, take care, look after yourself, and I'll see you next time. Hello, welcome to your reading, pile 3. All right, so this is your reading for coming back to basics, right? Getting back to who you truly are. I do want to say also, if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. It is Easter Monday here. If you don't and you live in a Western country, then at least you get the day off, right? It is quite symbolic of death and rebirth and coming back to who you truly are, right? With the idea of the figure of Jesus ascending. It's like having a temporary life and ascending to who, your soul, your true self, your whole self. So this is quite a good time, I guess, to do this reading as well. You've chosen one that is a little bit different to the other two piles, because the other two were really talking to grounding in their crystals. They both had grounding in it, and this one is more about out there. This feels more out there. So you've got the titanium rainbow quartz with awakening all chakras, ultimate manifestation, vibrancy, and powerful shifts. So this could be a huge transformation time for you. And maybe this is going to touch on it. I'm not too sure. We'll have a look. But this card's been popping out a lot for different people at different times. Huge changes are coming and also are happening, right? We can see it now. The world looks so different and it's moving so much quicker than it used to. So let's have a look. Okay, so these are cards that I've had for a long time. This was my first crystal deck. I think this deck here, this is the Spirit Warrior cards. That was my first deck of cards. It was quite cheap, but I didn't want to buy like a rip-off version of decks, right? So I got a cheap deck that I was like, let's just see if I can do this. And so I got this deck, and it's a very hard deck to read, but I was able to do readings with it, and I was like, I get it. Okay, so I got some other cards, and like this one and this one wasn't too far behind. And I started to do readings. So I also wanted to pay homage to the idea of when I first started reading, I was reading oracle cards, not tarot. So there's no tarot here. And I think when I first started doing readings, I felt like I could connect to a lot of energy, and tarot has a huge amount of energy. A lot of people have very strong opinions of how to read, what to read, blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't reading or looking at anything online. This was just me connecting and looking at the cards themselves. And I was just like, yeah, no, it's too much. So I stuck with oracle, and that was a way more peaceful kind of like calmer way of connecting. And then obviously it evolved into a more open kind of way of reading with both oracle and tarot. But I think that's just like the idea of whatever is happening now will transform and change. Nothing stays the same forever, and that's why we've got this vibrancy and powerful shifts. More changes are occurring, and you've chosen this deck, right? More changes are occurring, more awakenings are occurring around the earth, especially if you're a starseed and you're like, yeah, I know all this. Well, you might be not triggered, but prompted into conversations and discussions about certain things, which you might enjoy, but you also might be shocked about. So just be open to that occurring as well. Don't have to look for it, it'll come to you. Okay, coming back to basics. Boop. Okay, and last deck. Okay, the cards when I was picking them or like taking them, it felt like however the energy is moving through this is like very specific. So that kind of tells me while there's lots of changes occurring, this is like a very specific one for you. So if you're listening to this one, really connect with how the message comes across to what it may be implying for you, because I'm going to talk to it a very general way, right? Because you're not the only person getting this particular reading or from this pile. So really take it in and see how it resonates for you. If it doesn't feel like a certain aspect is resonating, then that's not your part that you need to focus in on, right? Try to channel it into what is right for you, or how not really change the meaning or channel the meaning into something else, but just let it sit for a while is probably a better way of putting it. Okay, so you have the waning gibbous moon. It's funny with all these transformations, you got slow down. It says here, let that which no longer serves you fade away with the waning moon. It says, I am the moon and the moon is me. Slow down. It's hard to slow down when there's lots of powerful shifts and changes, but we don't want to be reacting, right? Coming back to like, while we can see the world and maybe you're connecting with spirit guides or even angelic beings or even like your starseed kind of like creatures, right? Beings, whatever you want to call them. You don't have to rush off into anything. You don't have to be anywhere else than where you are right now, is how it's coming through. Woo, new beginnings, new changes. It's very clear, especially right beside this card. There's a lot of new things changing. You don't want to rush these. These are exciting in a way. I feel like you've been able to pull yourself out of the collective at times, and in a positive way. I mean, not like it's kind of like pulling yourself up out of the drudgery of some of the lower stuff, right? The eat, sleep, whatever. What is that thing? Eat, sleep, work, repeat kind of thing. Like you're out of the monotony of life. You've been able to pull yourself out for a while to have a look and then maybe go back in, or maybe you're just seeing it from the outside. This is absolutely fine, I feel, for you, for some of you. If you're feeling like way too lofty and aloof and out of your body, then come back to what you need to. But for some of you that are just out there looking at it and seeing the benefit even through some of the chaos, you're fine. Yeah, I feel like this is a starseed pile. You've got the caregiver card with helping hands. There's a lot of hands coming through with these two as well. Like this kind of feels like lining up a picture to me for some reason. I don't think so because there's no one's taking a photo, but it just feels very like catered for, and this is clearly loving, caring, unconditional support. So like I said, you might have people come to you for support and help. If you're in a good space, do it. If you're not, say you can't at this time, but maybe tomorrow, or like reschedule, right? If you're able to, because it shows you are keen to support, but you're just not in a good headspace right now, or you've got a headache, or you've got something going on. Whatever it is, you don't need to force yourself. It's exciting, but this caregiver is slowing down, and it's right next to the slow down card, and just taking care of your needs and what's important, right? So yeah, this is exciting. Ooh. You've got the carbuncle and the chicana with discovery, unearthing, and unknown. Going into a new phase or new space works quite well with the new beginning. The carbuncle is a mythological creature from like South America. It's kind of seen as something that had like gems in it. It kind of feels like whoever saw it maybe had like a little bit much to drink or whatever. Who knows, right? And saw an armadillo or something similar to that, and just thought, they're holding treasure, because the idea is if you catch one, you get its gems. Kind of, I guess, similar to like the story of a leprechaun or something. I don't know. I'm not really well versed with all these mythologies, but I really like this one. And so when I saw it, it's like understanding and going within to discover who you truly are. So there's like this idea of becoming more your soul you, which may be completely different to the human you as well. You're getting a very different reading. Look at you. Secrets unknown. Yeah. Yeah. More stuff coming up for you. You've got the Miracle Worker and the Grimoire with astral travel costs and secrets. So the idea of this card was someone who's at like you could just put it into simple terms of like a school, right? And they're very smart. They understand many things, and they're just getting bored with the study because it's stuff that they're already aware of. They already comprehend and understand. So what's the point in continuously learning about something you already understand and know? So she goes off and she grabs a book which is way too advanced for her, but with that kind of cockiness and ego of like, well, I can do anything. She starts working on it, looking through it, and there's some parts of the story where she is successful in, but a lot of it becomes overwhelming and she needs assistance. So I guess with this is like take care of the needs and don't rush off into anything. Just because there's a lot of powerful shifts doesn't mean it's a good time to like rush anything. All this is telling you to slow down. Don't try to like just because you recognize like a past self or even I don't know, a star system that you connect with and your abilities are starting to like really ramp up. That doesn't mean it's a time to rush, right? It's a time to, if it's ramping up, it's time to like explore it, enjoy it, and let it settle in before making decisions, I guess is how it's coming through. Yeah, transcendence. Lord Shiva coming through, rise up, honor your inner force, steps are being given, dance with the universe. This is like, dance with the universe is a nice way of putting co-create, not just dive into anything, right? Excuse me. All right. Transcendence. This could be also with the Earth transcending if you follow like the New Earth kind of idea. I think that was an old idea. And it feels old now because we've already picked like our path in some way, and as we keep continuing moving forward, we're continuously picking paths and timelines and that kind of thing. So you know you're a part of it. You're also working through it, but you're also assisting and helping others as well. I don't believe it's coming through with like you should go out there and search for others and like, you know, become like a religious figure where they knock on your door and say, have you heard like the good news kind of thing. It's not like that. It's just like if people come to you with questions and stuff, then you can assist them because they've stepped into your domain, if that makes sense. You're kind of just like, you know, how the old school oracles would sit up on top of the mountains and people would come to them. They went to them, right? The oracle didn't come down and say, hey, we've got a sale on, I don't know, prophecies. The people went to them. I mean, I don't know what it actually looked like back in the day, but that's the idea of what we're told now. Oh my goodness! So you've got Lord Shiva and you've got Mahavata Babaji with Soul Expansion. I say oh my goodness because this is like quite a grandiose figure. He's a strange figure in my mind because he kind of like appears, disappears, pops in, is always here on Earth, and even there's still the belief of him still being alive in some kind of way in the Himalayas, like living out his you know mountain life, I guess. But Babaji has soul expansion. It says your consciousness is expanding. You understand the connection between all things. Yeah, this is going to pump you up. That's why you do not want to rush into anything. Write stuff down that you're interested in. Go explore. Go a little bit wild. I feel like that's okay. You're kind of like being given a huge amount of space to bounce around. But just because there's a huge amount of space, you don't need to go beyond it. You don't need to yet, right? Maybe if you come back in a week, 2 weeks, a month time to this message, it'll feel or sound different where you've already passed that and you're allowed to go off. I mean, you can do whatever you want anyway. You're a human, you know, free will. But this is just like the idea of it's exciting. It's an exciting time to uncover and discover more about you and your connection with self, God, BTs, I don't know, carbuncles, you know, mythical creatures, whatever's out there is kind of like what you're being a part of. And depending on where you're at, you might be more on the side of assisting or exploring or both, right? It's all there. So yeah, the slight warning with slow down, it's just to enjoy it. You don't want to speed run through a party, right? You want to enjoy it and celebrate and go speak to people if you want to, right? Or whatever it is. You don't want it to be a speed run and then just forget what you did because you were just rushing trying to do things. You want to enjoy it. So this is kind of a time to enjoy, even though we might look on the outside and think this is things aren't working. I think you're able to jump out and see how things are playing out in the sense of where it's leading to. You might not know exactly what that looks like. I don't think anyone knows exactly what that looks like, but just the belief and trust of moving into a brighter future, right? So, yeah. Okay. I don't know if this really answered the question of like grounding, right, or coming back to self, but this was the wild pile, I guess, the wild card pile, and it's just showing you that things are improving and changing in dramatic ways, and you're part of the story or journey as well. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you so much for letting me read for you today, pile number 3. Look after yourself, be kind to each other, and I'll see you next time.